Good morning, Dubai. Welcome back to the Lovin Dubai show, where we go through the top trending stories that everyone across the country is talking about today. I'm joined by Hisham. Good morning,
Casey.
Hisham. How are you doing?
It's good. It's always nice being with you.
Thank you for jumping in. Really appreciate it. As always, we're going to talk about the top stories in Dubai. The UAE president opposes the displacement of the Palestinian people. We're also going to talk about the fact that UAE women can now get married without the approval of a guardian. And the Stalker has been banned for harassing Raducanu at the Dubai tennis. The resident who is begging food delivery outlets to stop sending plastics. And later on in the show, we have an amazing interview. 7 Emirates in less than 6 days. The Dubai athlete Amos gets a Guinness World Record. By the way, it's cloudy out there, weather ranging from 19 to 28 degrees.
Temperature is getting a bit hot, but we can still feel the bit of the wind at night.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
I want that sunshine. I want those hours of sunshine. I need it for like just daily living. I need to see the sun.
A bit cloudy, dusty a bit. I feel like every day it's just give you the impression it's gonna rain very hard, but it doesn't. I saw the other day it rained the other side, but it didn't rain our side. So I wasn't happy. Why is it raining in Dubai's side but not Production City?
So sky is cloudy. It feels like it's going to break, and we're just waiting for that like moment that we can go out and dance in the rain. We love a weather chat in Dubai, don't we? We just love it.
I would really love it. I'll be very satisfied if it just rained once before summer comes. Just once.
Hisham, it's
Please.
coming. Don't you worry. We're February, like April, March.
Okay.
Before we jump into our top stories, I want to get your thoughts on this dating. It's kind of like a night out that's going quite viral in Ireland.
Okay.
And basically people are like, they're done with dating apps. So someone has created this dating night. It's called Pitch a Friend.
Pitch a friend. Okay.
So you and your friend go to this venue and you're basically pitching your friend. So you make a PowerPoint about your friend and you list all of their great qualities, and then you have to stand up in front of everyone and you're like, so let's say if I was doing you, I'd be like, Hisham, you know, he's reliable, he's always going to be there. If you need anything, he's your guy. And then I would go into some like little things that you've done, all these nice things, and I'd have like 15 minutes in front of everyone to say how great you are.
The girls?
It would be a group of people. The idea is to get you a number.
Ooh. So I can't do it myself. Someone has to pitch for the other?
Yeah.
Nice. that just makes the effort much less. And also the girls has to do it for the boys. So the girl would do a presentation about her friend in front of a group of boys.
Can we just step back a moment? And I love that your first thing was that makes the effort much less. You know what I mean?
Because always just getting the number is always the hard part. And asking out for the first date is always the second hardest part. And then the rest just go with the flow, you know, it happens. But just getting the number, it's very hard. But then you start speaking for a while and then asking for a first date, that's the hardest part. And like an advice, after the first date, the girl should always approach the boy after, saying that she had a good date, she didn't have a good date. Like, if she didn't have a good date, then delete the number.
Don't give us your rules.
It's not the
just be a gentleman. And it can
really
go either way.
It can go either way.
Yeah.
But me, generally, after a first date, I would wait for her reply. Oh, like I had a good day, stuff like that.
Oh, cute.
If she didn't reply, then I've got my answer, you know.
Khalas.
Yeah.
You know, I'm hearing, it's interesting to hear you say that, because Massa and the Gen Z crew are saying that it's taking men longer to ask for first dates, and they're not even doing the kind of like, you know, they're not even making the big effort for the first date. It's like, oh, maybe let's get a coffee. And it's like, don't maybe.
Yeah, but I think girls pressure us. We just don't get a straight answer. So, like, look, you see, when you're close to someone and you're interested in him, this is my perspective. If you're close to someone and you really like him or you really want to take him out, maybe you pending all that time is that you're waiting for the right time, not to be pushy or to make the move early, then lose that person. This is my perspective. It's not like I'm trying to be like.
No, but everyone wants the romance and everyone wants the fairy tale and everyone wants to think when you're going into something that it could be the thing, it could be the one. And if And if the question is like, maybe let's get a coffee, that doesn't feel like I'm entering my fairy tale.
Yeah, that's not maybe. We don't say maybe.
We don't lead with maybe.
Go big or go home.
Or go home, there you go.
Let's go for coffee.
I like this pitch a friend idea. It's happening in Ireland. Let's bring it to Dubai. How fun is it to get your best friend saying all the great things about you?
It's very amazing and it's very unique and new. And it's also nice that your friend is pitching for you.
Yeah, it's
I hope
cute.
people doesn't think that you're just helping your friend out of nowhere and not saying things about him. But I really love the fact that you do a presentation about him. Like you put his age, you put his photos, you put stuff about him. So yeah, I think it puts a lot of effort, and you need a very good best friend to do that for you.
Yeah.
Because he needs to work, or she needs to work very hard on that presentation in order for you or to get her that number. So yeah, if I don't know, I think we can't download it here, but you have to go to a venue.
No, it's like they're setting up an event. I think it's a whole new era of wingmanning. And even if you don't get a number, it'd be a nice ego boost because it's just someone saying nice things about you. Yeah. Let's jump in to our top story of the day. This came through yesterday. It was breaking news as Marco Rubio is visiting the UAE. So the UAE president has firmly opposed the displacement of Palestinian people. President His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan met Marco Rubio. UAE women can now get married without approval from a guardian. Without approval from a guardian.
Starting in April 2025, UAE local women will no longer need approval from a guardian to get married, making a significant shift in the country's marriage law. Traditionally, an Emirati woman would need her guardian's consent to marry, and if her father has passed, a male relative such as her elder brother would step in.
However, and this story got such a big reaction yesterday, now have the environment, further empowering independence. This change also aligns with the UAE's international standards of women's rights.
Additionally, the legal minimum marriage age has been set at 18 for both men and women, promoting equality and
modernizing that family law. Any updates on allowing people to marry independently is always amazing. It got massive feedback on our feed yesterday. It's a good news story. So congratulations to all maybe the new weddings that we'll see coming from it.
We'll recap. So now the girl can get married without a guardian. Also, I mentioned that previously if your dad's there, but if your dad's not there, your big brother or someone like a first phase relative, we call it like from the same blood. And now it's been moved to the 18 years old for both. I think in Egypt, it's 16. It's once you get your ID, because you're only getting an ID after 16, you can get married. Like when you have an ID number, you can get married. My grandma was married when she was like 16.
Interesting. You know, it's so interesting about the law, the age limits for certain things.
Yeah.
I'm assuming in Ireland it's 16. And
also, I think it's off topic, but getting your license now, it's 17, not 18 as well. So that was narrowed down a year from 18 to 17.
You're so different from the ages of 16 to 17 and 18. I think you do so much growth.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, could we say wait till you're 25 to get married? Like, I think I'm quite moderate in my views. However, age limit for marriage...
Yeah.
I just think we really change as people, and therefore, if you're choosing your person, it's so amazing.
Yeah.
If you do find your person at a young age, but it's also really hard, and it just takes so much commitment. I guess I am coming from 35 and only getting married for the first time this year, and that's where my views come from. But I also think that it is really hard. You're so lucky to find your person at that age. Is what I think.
Well, to be fair, in my condition, I was 18, 19. Well, I said that with my age right now, 28, 27, 28, and 28 in October. So I always say that, like when I'm 28, 29, I'll get married.
Yeah.
And I've been like saying, that's my ambition. Like by 30, I'll have a kid and stuff like that. But then when I came 27, 28, I found that the lads now, the girls are 21 and 20. They're the one who are getting married. And our generation are no one who's not getting married. But I think I agree with you because... When I was 24, I had a different mindset. When I was 25, I had a different mindset. Apart from 17, 18, 19, obviously that's a different age that I really don't remember right now. But I think 24, you have a different mindset. When you hit 26, 25, 26, your mindset change. Every year, like I feel like 25, 26, 27, 28, those 4 years, every year, you change. Obviously, based on how you think and based on your status, you have someone in your life or not. But I think you should be waiting after the 28. Yeah. To be fair, like I was a lover, and I said, no, by 28, I'll have 2 kids. And then when I just saw reality, I think in order for your mind to grow, and if you want to have that just someone and you continue with the whole life, I think 28 is the right stable mind. After that, you can do. Because, you know, you'd always want to have someone you live with your life the whole and have that big fairy tale story that you'll tell your grandchildren too. Obviously, some people get married at 18 and they have a beautiful life, but right now, just wait.
Age is just a number. So to be able to define it by age is tricky. Do I wish I met the love of my life at 16 and had an amazing life from then? Yes, I really do. But it didn't happen. And the reality is you might have thought you were in love and then things change. Yeah. So let's petition for 28 to be the new age. And we'll move into our next story. Happened at the tennis yesterday. Someone has been banned from harassing Emma Raducanu in Dubai, and this all happened yesterday.
Authorities have banned a man who harassed British tennis star Emma during the tennis championship. The 22 years old was visibly distressed during her second round match, pausing play at 2-0 in the first set to report the disturbance of the umpire, according to the officials. The man who exhibited this behavior towards her first approached her in a public area on February 17 before being spotted in the front row during her match the next day again.
Exactly, and security intervened, and at the time he was ejected from the venue. The WTA confirmed that he is now banned from all WTA events, pending a threat assessment, and assured that they are working closely with Emma and her team to ensure her well-being. Of course, under UAE federal law, stalking, harassment in any form carries serious penalties, including fines, imprisonment, and potential deportation for expatriates. Authorities may also issue restraining orders to prevent further contact, reinforcing the country's commitment to player and public safety.
Major sporting country.
For Emma Raducanu, she always brings in huge crowds. She won a Grand Slam in her teens and therefore has been a massive name in women's tennis since. Down at the tennis, there's the top 10 women all playing, so big crowds down there. But what happened was, ahead of the match, this person approached her, and obviously she felt that level of discomfort. And then as the match began, she felt, what was the phrase that we used? Like, he just didn't stop staring, and that made her feel entirely uncomfortable, and my heart just goes out to her because I can't even imagine how scary that must be.
You know, not, where are you? Like, what's in your mind? I think I don't know. Like, I think some people are just really have something inside their minds. This is not acceptable, especially in a sport court. That's not accepted also outside a sport court. But in general, she's doing her job literally. I'm a producer, you're a content director. We do our job. This is their job, guys. She's doing her job, playing and training. So she did a lot of effort for her to play that game after training and doing a lot of sacrifices in her life in order to be in that position. So this game is like a daily thing for her, just like us in our work. So work is not what needs to be done for her. And staring, what are you gonna get out of it?
Well, yeah, you're right.
What are you going to get out of it? She's going to turn around and say, take my number? Come on. I'm really disappointed, to be honest, because at the end, the woman needs her respect. If you're not approaching a woman, approach a woman in the right way, not by staring at her while she's doing her job for 2 hours, and then you're going to end up not having anything. You know? I think we all deserve respect in any place, but what I think is that the person is clearly unwell, and hopefully they get the help that they need, because as you said, it's just not regular behaviour. Jumping into our next story, a Dubai resident is begging delivery outlets to stop sending plastic forks. First of all, do you have a shelf or a cupboard or somewhere in your house that's just full of those packets? No, because I always, when I make my order, I always say not to bring them. But because someday I had a drawer that had like 50 of them, but then I felt it's really a waste that I'm not using. And then I start using them, not using my main sets. But then after, if I really don't need them, if I'm at work, we have here at home, I have my own stuff. But I predict that, yeah. But I can relate. Like I would have them even with the tissue from different brands. But yeah.
I was the same as you. Is that I used to have this massive shelf cupboard, and it was I had all my actual cutlery, and then on top of that was all the plastic cutlery. Now you click the thing that says "Don't send the cutlery," and I just don't keep them anymore because they're so pointless.
Especially that new one, the cartoon one,
What's the cartoon
the
one?
wooden one. Sorry. Not it's usually the plastic bag, but there's new one. It's like a bit wooden, the recycled one. Yeah, I had a lot of those.
I guess a lot of the food delivery apps have the option to unclick to stop sending me cutlery, but I still feel like sometimes it comes.
Yeah, sometimes they. I like it says select. Sometimes they just put it.
They just
just
come.
in case have it, and you don't know like now should I keep them, and I'll have a very big pile or a drawer that has all of them, or throw them.
I got rid of them. I don't have the drawer anymore because I've been living here for 10 years. I don't think I could count on the amount of times that I've used them. I use the tissues sometimes.
Yeah, because they're big as well. It's not.
You just need the tissues, but not the plastic. So it's more of a reminder to us as people to declick that thing, to restaurants to send the note that, by the way, some of that plastic is still coming to us.
The earth only doesn't belong to us, it belongs to our coming generation, our grandson. We need to take more care of the environment.
Nice.
I was watching this documentary and it really moved my heart almost like a bit. You know when your eyes just glow up? Because plastic especially...
I cry watching stuff all the time, Hisham.
Plastic really affect animals, especially animals in the sea. You would see a lot of injured animals just to our plastic, our cans, our everything, and how waste actually just been generated across and thrown everywhere. So the easiest thing for any country, not in a specific place, mainly outside or maybe in Europe, as the documentary that I saw, they would throw it in the water. Even if they will send it to another country, they will throw it in their ocean. So you would see animals really dying and going through suffering just because of a plastic spoon.
Yeah, and I think although we say we don't use the plastic, I think as people here in the UAE, there's probably a lot that we could do in terms of the recycling front. So more conversations to be had on that for sure. It's 8:50 on Thursday. Can you believe it's already Thursday, by the way? I feel like this week has just been going zoop.
For me, it's been different. It's been very, very slow.
That's so interesting.
I went for a hike on Sunday.
Yeah.
In Khorfakan. And ever since that, my body is very tired. So it's been very slowly for me.
How long was the hike?
It was for 3 hours. We did almost 8 kilos. Fun.
You did 8 kilos?
8
kilometers?
8 kilometers.
Interesting, because our next guest did 630 kilometers. He crossed the 7 Emirates in less than 6 days, breaking a world record as he did it. His name is Harry Amos. He's been on the show before, but today he's back to tell us about his world record, and he's going to be joined by Nick Coates, his coach, who helped him along the way. Stay tuned. They'll be with us after this short break. welcome back to the Lovin Dubai show. Today's guests are Harry, Amos and Nick Coates. Harry recently ran 630 kilometres across 7 Emirates in under 6 days. His coach Nick, an endurance athlete, played a vital role in guiding him through this remarkable challenge. In doing so, Harry set a world record while raising awareness for global diabetes, a noble feat no less. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Excited to have this chat.
Good to see you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Harry, we'll start with you. The last time you were on this show, you had set a record. You were in a rowboat for 39 days.
That's right, yeah.
And you've just broken a record for running across the 7 Emirates.
It was time to kind of put the ego on the chopping block again and see if it would survive. Actually, where we were on the boat, my brother and I in Paris were kind of already scheming our next plans, and Paris, as you might know, ran in 7 continents, 7 days, 7 marathons, the same week as I was running across the 7 Emirates, almost like we designed it, but no, it was complete coincidence. And my brother, who's also on the rowing boat, is going to run across Sweden as well. So we all had our little challenges, and we were kind of in the execution phases of those. But my plan was to do something much closer to home, because the rowing thing, as brilliant as it was, took us to the other side of the planet, and it was time to kind of do something on our doorstep. We love the UAE, it is our home, and it was just a great way of seeing the whole country.
And let's be clear, so did you go in planning to break the world record? What was the previous record?
It was 5 days, 23 hours, essentially, set by a chap called Everin. And he himself had beaten the previous record set by Sean Burgess 2 years before. To answer your question, I knew it was it was on the horizon. It was something I knew was there. Genuinely, the day before, I was more concerned about finishing it, let alone getting the record. Yeah. Okay. And there's always a lot of self-doubt in these things, and I tried in the build-up not to kind of overemphasize the fact that I was going for the world record, because you've got to manage people's expectations, right? But then the plan, till we didn't know we had it until probably the last few hours of the last day. So it was definitely never in the bag, and I never thought it was on the cards, or certainly going to be easy.
Wow. Well, we'll certainly touch more on that later on. But Nick, as his coach through this entire process, what are your thoughts when someone comes to you with this kind of out of the box challenge and saying, I not just want to do it, but I want to smash it?
First of all, as soon as Harry came to me with this opportunity to support him through this, I jumped at it. I was all in from the beginning, because I'm excited and fascinated by endurance sports and what it takes. Harry is an inspiration to me, what he's done in the past with the rows and other things that he's taken on. But when he's taking on this challenge here, from the beginning, I had no doubt that he was going to complete this, if not break the record as well. So I was all in, and when I heard the plan, it really excited me. So yeah.
And you've been involved in endurance before. What kind of endurance missions have you got your experience from?
I mean, I've done during lockdown when I lived in Singapore, cycled 120 kilometers around the island, and then ran 120 kilometers. So a bit of a biathlon there.
As you do.
By no means trained to that sort of distance, but much like Harry, just wanted to take on the challenge and see what it felt like, pushing yourself to that limit and learning from the experience through endurance. And that sort of started my interest in that, and then done a number of ultra marathons, mountain marathons, this sort of stuff. And I'm training towards doing the Peru multi-stage 230 kilometer jungle ultra with Beyond the Ultimate in June this year.
Which, by the way, sounds much harder.
So it's exciting. And with my coaching as well, I'm fascinated by the lessons you can learn from endurance sports. And how you can apply those to your life as well.
Interesting. Let's talk a little bit about that. So when you're going into something of this magnitude, in your opinion, what is more challenging? Is it the physical aspect or the mental aspect?
So I think one way I look at these things is that the physical aspect has to be a given. You have to prepare your body, and then once you've prepared your body, you almost park that. It's done, right? So then you're focusing completely on the mental aspect. If you went into this thing and your body wasn't ready, then it's very unlikely that your mental is going to get you through it. So you have to get that done. So there was a build-up of at least a year of high volume running training, a huge amount of gym work, so that kind of on day one, there was that was all done, all I could have done. So then we won't focus on the mental aspect. And one of the things that Nick's very good at reminding me throughout was that, you know, if you look at something as a whole, if you look at 630 kilometers, you know, it's pretty daunting for even the most seasoned runner. And I'm not a seasoned athlete by any means.
I mean, I can't imagine
you
you're
know,
that bad.
yeah, I mean, but there are people definitely a lot better than me. But what we do is we break it down into these bite-sized chunks, so that everything is done in phases, so that you're not focusing on too much on the 6:30, or focusing on the next 2 or 3 hours at a time. So that's one way of it. And the other element of the mental aspect is to fuel the body, is to make sure your body is in the best place it can be. So, you know, if you are well fed and you've had enough sleep, and in my case you've got enough electrolytes and stuff going into your body, your mind is going to be in its best possible state. So, you know, feeding, and thanks to Spinnies who were providing all the food, and Nick, who was there as kind of a third eye, because sometimes when you're exhausted, sometimes you can't read yourself, and sometimes you need someone else to go, this is what you need, and you go, yeah, okay, cool, and then you sort of take what you're given. So that's another massive element. Yeah, and then the other, you know, there are little tricks of the trade which you can employ to get you through the mental strain of it. And what I like to do is you use a distraction technique whereby I envisage kind of the overall goal, and I kind of focus on that for a bit, and then I get that becomes daunting for a bit, so I bring it down to the next leg. So all I've got to do is get the next leg, and I envisage finishing that leg, and I get bored of counting lampposts, you know. So you always have a kind of long, medium, and short-term thing, and you kind of switch between the three. And if you do, you can cycle through that for a very long time, and amazingly the hours start kind of going by, and then just being focused. You know, Nick talks about singularity. You know, so there's a little bit of cutting out the noise of doing these endurance things. Is that, you know, work. You even have to cut off, you know, momentarily your family and all that kind of stuff, so you can. And so that comes with.
Imagine, as you said, the mental thing. So Nick is what are the tough talks that you've had to have along the way?
Yeah.
And how do you know it's the right talk to have, you know?
I mean, yeah, it's quite right. It's about timing as well, and understanding from me as the coach's perspective in that moment was trying to understand what he needed in that moment. Did he need the pep talk? Did he need the fueling? Did he need the rest? And just as Harry describes it, just being like that Overwatch, that third eye, just looking for blind spots that maybe he's not thinking about. Because right there, he's thinking about my quads blowing up, my calves blowing up, whatever that is, trying to get into that aid station and just sit down. I'm making sure that everything is laid out there for him. When you talk about the journey, the goal was clear, you know, go from point A to point B in a set period of time. But it's breaking it down into those phases to achieve that. And again, that's like any goal that people might be out there trying to set for themselves. Don't think about the end state. Let's think about the small little steps that you can take to get you towards there. And before you know it, when you start leaning into that, you start chipping away. One point there, like really, I think was like sort of the tipping point. There's many opportunities that Harry could have stepped away and just used an excuse. For example, we had a interaction with the police, which slowed our progress.
Some safety concerns about running
Some
on the
safety
side
concerns,
of the road,
obviously
which
running on the side of the road,
all put to bed.
Right.
The police were fantastic, by the way.
And they did a fantastic job, and they looked after us very well. And but yeah, as Harry's doing the nodding dog in the police station at 1 o'clock in the morning, thinking about starting the run again at 4 o'clock in the morning, there was an opportunity for him at that stage to say, do you know what? I've got enough of an excuse here not to go and punish myself with another 105 or so kilometers of running the next day. But he never even crossed into that boundary of thinking, like, giving himself that excuse to get out. But what that did mean was the next day you're absolutely, you know, was tired, suffering on the lay-by, so I had to go and replay him in that position. The following day we had it was going to go into the biggest day. So the night before, I wanted to understand what his parameters were for success for that next day. And he volunteered the information that my parameters for success was going to be 100 kilometers by 9:30 p.m. the following day.
Bear in mind, we had 130 to do.
130 to do, exactly. So it's like, okay, cool, go to bed, wake up the next morning, and went through the day, like we'd been doing for 5 days previously. And when you got really to that point of like, I've got 70 kilometers or so to go.
We were about 65 in.
Yeah.
And one thing you probably don't remember saying, I remember saying to you, God, Nick, it's still a really long way.
Yeah.
And Nick went, it's always been a long way.
It's always been a long way.
And it was a particularly low moment for me. And then, you carry on.
Then with that, so I jumped in there and said, okay, so what was your gauge for success for today? It was 100 kilometers by 9:30. And then we looked at the watch, looked at the distance, looked at what was left. Suddenly it was like, well, that's achievable. And he actually came in with 1 hour to spare to then attack the final 30 kilometers of that day, which will get him in for the record.
And then we didn't even really, we came in at...
Goosebumps, guys. That's amazing.
Yeah, we got in at like 8:30, and we thought we'd come in at 9:30. We didn't even talk about the last 30k. Yeah. We just came in. I went and sat, and I had my trusty scamp, which is my neighbour's caravan, where I was sleeping in, sponsored by Roseleaf Cafe, and went in there, and I was supposed to have kind of 20 minutes like kip essentially. Obviously, it's very hard to sleep when your body's kind of twitching all the time. And I just lay there for 20 minutes, put my head torch on, put my jumper on because it was getting chilly, and then came outside. Nick made sure I was actually awake, which was easy because I was wide awake, and then came out and we were just like, right, so we're doing the last 30k then. It wasn't even discussed, but it was just a really good example of if you're just breaking it down into the, and I genuinely thought there was no way I could do another 70k in the day, but I could do another 40, and it ended up that I did that 40. Then you're just last bit, 630k.
Make it sound like it's achievable nearly, but was challenging, and I just wonder, you mentioned an opportunity to bow out. Was there any kind of mentally, personally challenging moments that you just could not, that was like the next step is going to be tricky on me? Was there any kind of, was there any, I don't know, foot sores along the way? How are your feet at the end?
So feet were fine, but the swelling started after about day 3, so about 300k in, the swelling comes from the feet upwards. So they start getting, your club feet start getting heavier and heavier, and quite painful because there's a lot of blood in them. So every time we stopped, it was Nick would have the chair up against the side of the vehicle so that my legs could go straight away onto the vehicle to just get as much blood out as possible to reduce the pain there. Swelling over the subsequent 3 days went further up and up and up and up the legs until it kind of finished. It got right up to my hips. So it was that feeling of just like having giant elephant feet, kind of, and then so the relief, even for like 10 seconds, to have my feet up on a stop was really, really important. I literally run just so I could get my feet up on the edge. But really very lucky. Like I had a very swollen Achilles, again an expected injury, which meant I lost mobility there, but nothing acute. I think anyone would have the same issues Achilles-wise. So no, really I came off quite unscathed in that regard.
There was never this is too much.
Yeah, do you know what the closest? So a few moments. So but the main real watershed moment was after our sleepless night in Abu Dhabi because of the safety issue with the police. We'd done 100k on day 3. We'd had this sleepless night, and we had 100k to do on day 4. But of course we hadn't slept. So day 3 and day 4 were like the same day basically, and we were mid-afternoon on day 4, and I had just started. I'd run every step up until kind of basically day 4. On day 4, I was doing this kind of speed march. So I'd run a kilometre, walk 500 metres, run a kilometre, walk 100 metres. And I was on a running section in the afternoon, and I was very, very sleepy, like as in falling asleep, not just tired. And I came to as a truck went right past me, full, horn beeping, and I had run into. Luckily, it's after Abu Dhabi where there aren't many vehicles at all, but I'd literally run into the road. I'm like, crap, so I got back into the lay-by. We're about 70k, and I spoke to Nick at the next CP. nervous right now, and I'm not. And so we what's the plan? And we said, right, we're going to cut today short. So we're not going to do 100k today. I think we did 75, which is disappointing for me, but vital, because if I were to continue till 11 p.m, then I wouldn't get any sleep, and then day 5 would be a write-off, and so on and so forth. So that rest on night 4 meant that day 5, whilst was very intimidating, because I knew I had a big day ahead, I'd had kind of 5 hours sleep. And so that tactical decision we made meant that over the last 2 days, we then had 25 kilometres to catch up, which we etched off half again. But I'd rather not have. But you've got to deal with the hand you've been dealt. And
yeah, I mean, it was game rather like 7.5. Chip away. But again, it was time to just pull back a little bit to set yourself up for the next day. That was the most important thing, to make sure that the next day was going to be a success.
Right.
Whatever's happened has happened at that stage. Now it's time to reset, realign, work out how we're going to make the next day as successful as possible. And I think you could take that forwards in your day-to-day. Sometimes we can push until the wheels come off. But again, take that tactical pause, take that time just to rest and just reassess things a little bit.
yeah,
Interesting.
have a night's sleep.
Have a night's sleep.
Earlier you mentioned it was a year in training, and that work and family went on the back seat. And I wonder if this is the same for many people taking on endurance challenges. And how does that actually play out in real life? Like, how do you really balance it? Like, and would you jump into something soon after? And is this what people do for endurance challenges? Like, everything else takes a back foot?
No, I mean, there has to be a balance. And by the way, when I say the family took a back seat, not during training. During training, obviously, I'm afraid you have to kind of burn the candle at both ends. It just meant that you have to get up incredibly early in the morning, because you've got to get volume in. You've got to get kind of 100k a week in at least. So you've got to get up really, really early in the morning before your children wake up. And then you go running after they've gone to bed, which means that you're then fighting that kind of sleep training balance, which you can do over time. For the event itself, yes, there has to be a separation so that you can focus. But I wouldn't take on I don't take on any of these events lightly, because there is an impact on family work as well. And certainly for the foreseeable, I'm going to focus on that side of my life going forward. I've done 2 back-to-back kind of big ones, so I'm going to have a little air gap before the next one. But yeah, it is tough. But there are 24 hours in a day. There are 24 hours in a day, and not many people realise that. And it's easier said than done. It's easier to say, well, just get up earlier and run later. Life takes over. Days don't go how you planned. Things go wrong, right? Getting into habitual. Getting into good habits is easier said than done. One of the things I use, and a technique I use, is I use the breadcrumb method. So so when I go to bed at night and I know I've got an early morning run, I don't just set my alarm. I lay my stuff out the night before. I have my contact lenses on the sink ready. I put the tea bag in the cup downstairs in the kitchen, so that when I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm not going for a run. I'm just going downstairs to put the kettle on. I go downstairs, put the kettle on, and then I pour myself a cup of tea, and I put my contact lenses in, and then I sit. Before long, you're sat on the sofa drinking a cup of tea in your running gear. You haven't really got many options left.
I love these habits
but
so
to go
much.
for a run, right? So sometimes you just got to break things down into really easy wins. And I'm not advocating everybody go for a run at 5 o'clock in the morning, but you can do that for later on in the morning as well. So motivation isn't some magical gift from God. Help you do these things and help from people like Nick to know that there are little systems to do things.
Can we talk trick of the trade, because people watching today are doing this type of feat, but maybe it's possible. Trick or habit that you would encourage people who want to take their first step into fitness?
I mean, so obviously this is a massive undertaking, and by no means everyone is going to do this or want to do this or even do that. But what is important is looking after our health and wellness, right? But one of the biggest barriers I see with people that approach me or clients that I've started to work with or continue to work with is just starting. That is the first step. And one of the values of my coaching, and I know there's a strong value for Harry as well, is courage. Having that physical courage or that moral courage to actually take on something that might be a little bit challenging. But once you chip away at it and you do that one challenging thing once, it's like the breadcrumb method. You then move on to the next thing, move on to the next thing. So if it's your first 1 kilometer fast walk, or the next day, then you do another 2 kilometers. But it's just starting, which is the most important thing. Some people are overwhelmed by information. Some people are intimidated by the challenge, might be intimidated by the gym environment. But it's just starting. And that's the one message I can tell anyone. The best time is now. You know, the second best time was yesterday. So, just get out there and do whatever it is that helps you maintain that momentum.
I hear you. Go buy the gym gear. I absolutely will. Yeah. You did the challenge to raise awareness for diabetes. You raised 16,000 dirham, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, so we're about 20,000 dirham now.
Yeah.
You know, none of this would have been possible without the partnership with M42, which is the biggest medical group here in the UAE. They provided my physio, who came on the road with us, and a medic as well.
Wow.
So like we were a proper team that Nick was running, and we both share this mission to raise awareness for those living with diabetes. It's so relevant to exercise because almost 70% of all diabetes cases would not exist if people exercise regularly. So it's such an easy one. It's not easy, but it's such a fixable thing, right? So just putting the message out there of what can be done, what's possible. If one person decided to go for a run because they watched me trundling down the side of Sheikh Zayed Road, then I see it as a success. And it's it's a real issue. 1 in 5 people in the UAE are suffering with diabetes. So we continue to raise awareness and funds, so it aligns well with what we were trying to achieve. So.
A noble cause. You're watching, if you're just tuning into the show, the man who broke the record for 7 Emirates in less than 6 days, and the coach Nick who helped him do it. If people have questions, which I'm sure they do, how can they find you if they want to donate, if they want to get in touch with questions about endurance, how can they do so? Sure.
So the best thing is go via Instagram. I don't know if you can share my link, but it's Amos 28. And I'll share links. I'm doing direct messaging to share links to donate to the International Diabetes Federation, and also just following on from. So I haven't got the Guinness World Record yet, actually. So I've got you've got to submit a lot of paperwork. So all of that's in. So we'll see if I have the official record. Hopefully,
but we know
soon. Yeah.
Do we know?
Well, if I've got the evidence in and everyone's happy, then we're good. So
okay, well, fingers crossed.
Not counting my chickens yet,
Right. Okay.
Performance, and if anyone is ever interested in how to begin their fitness journey or take on bigger challenges, then I'm very happy to field questions, get on a call, answer DMs, whatever. I'm passionate about this. I love working with all manner of people in this sphere. So reach out if you're interested. Are you open to people breaking Harry's record? If I say I want to, we know all the trade secrets now. Awesome, guys! Thank you so much for the great chat, and congratulations! Thank you very much. What a great achievement. Thank you so much for having me. That brings us to the end of the Lovin Dubai show. We're back with you every single weekday morning, same time, same place. I'm actually away for the next 2 weeks, so I'll see you in 2 weeks. But Mass and the team will be here bringing you the top stories of Dubai. Have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.